these little lights by Newer, whatever. They're like these tiny little lights. They're magnetic, so I can just stick it to that nail right there. They're super sick. I bought like a couple of them. Okay. Today, what are we talking about today? Today, I wanted to talk about a topic that I don't see discussed very much online when it comes to video editing, and I think it's really interesting, and it's definitely something that I've learned and observed from and would love to give to you guys. Like, I would love to share this. And it's just revolving around the idea of when you first hire an editor. So this video really is for if you've just been hired as an editor, specifically kind of in the YouTube niche, or if you're someone who just hired an editor, whether you're the hiree or the hirer. Is that right? This is applicable to both of you because I think if you hired someone, you should consider this. And if you got hired, you should consider proposing this depending on what you're kind of sensing as you get hired as an editor. And the thing I'm talking about is creative control. This is definitely not everyone, but I have worked with both ends of the spectrum where you become an editor for someone who, especially in the YouTube realm, was editing before they hired you. They were doing everything. They were being the shooter, scripter, talent on camera and editor and emailer, and they're doing all of these jobs. And a lot of times you want to hire an editor to, again, just take some of that work off of your plate. And in the YouTube space, these people are very common, and, it makes total sense. If you're starting on YouTube, you don't have the funds or the capital or any sort of proof, usually, that you can just hire an editor right out of the gate. Or find an editor that wants to work with you. That's super, super rare. So generally speaking, you got to learn how to do it yourself. And of course, you learn your own style, you learn what you like, you become pretty attached to the editing process, no doubt. It's just inevitable. But again, once you reach this point of hiring someone, it becomes tough. And I've worked through this with several people, and I think I have a pretty good tip today on how to make this process a little bit smoother for anyone who's going through this. And I mean, in general, this is just a really fact of life. There's no silver bullet to solve this problem because, again, creative people love to have creative control. So giving that up, it takes time. It takes a lot of hand holding, and this is how I do this. This is how I would prefer this. And sometimes you got to repeat it 6-7 times to really get it into your editor's head. It's just a fact of life. But one thing that I have noticed that makes a huge difference is if you are struggling with creative control as the person who hired, think about it like this. The goal of hiring an editor is to not necessarily give up that creative control, but it's to ultimately arrive at a better edited product because you are not spending as much time doing it. So one tip that I've found to be super effective is think of it like this. Spend that time you would spend editing and film extra B-roll. Just film extra B-roll. If on Tuesday afternoon you would normally have spent 2 hours editing, but you have an editor, spend those 2 hours filming extra B-roll for the video. Now I know what you're thinking. You're going, Jake, wait a second. That's not saving me time. I'm still going to be doing just as much work, and I already filmed the video. Why should I film extra B-roll for 2 hours? Well, having been an editor, here's what I'll say. If you are new to working with someone, one of the greatest things that can drastically improve both the edit as a whole and just your experience as an editor is having tons of B-roll to work with for a video. When you're learning someone's style, it's hard to come up with lots of graphic ideas. It's hard to come up with lots of text and, extra fluff when you're really just trying to focus on learning this person's creative workflow, let alone adding all kinds of additional layers on top. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do graphics. I'm just saying if you could remove some of that and have B-roll that someone has filmed for you that directly correlates to things that are happening or talking in the video, as an editor, that just makes the decision-making process so much simpler. So again, what I've found is that even though the creator is still spending the same amount of time, they're actually allowing their new editor all kinds of more resources and tools to make better edits easier, which of course ultimately, no surprise, yields a better product. And then again, you can kind of start to scale back the time that both of you are spending on this mind melding effort the further along you get. But yeah, that's my tip. If you're struggling to fill that time with more email management, more business management, whatever the case may be, if you're still feeling like that creative muscle is just really needing that work, fill it with filming B-roll. Film lots of B-roll, give that to your editor, and I promise in the long run that will make that whole transition process smoother. Your editor is going to thank me, you're going to thank me. I think it is definitely something to consider. Now, obviously, this isn't for everyone. There's going to be people who, as soon as they hire an editor, they know exactly how they want to fill that time, which I do recommend as well. But again, if that's something you're struggling with, this is just a tip in my experience that has really helped with that process to eventually get you to where, you know, the B-roll is part of your shooting day, you know, and then that time you were spending editing is now spent doing admin stuff, email stuff, sponsor deal, you know, whatever it is, you've just freed up all of that time, because we all know it, editing takes forever. It takes so long. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you go there. So thanks so much for tuning in. Again, reminder on this channel, we're about all things editing, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. The goal this year was to hit 10K, and we absolutely smashed that out of the park. So I am incredibly excited, and just thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you in the next video.